YouTube. It's so good to see all of you. A little bit earlier than we usually do. But I'm going live on YouTube a little bit earlier today because we have an in-studio guest, someone who I love. Oh, they can't see you over there because the camera doesn't go to you on YouTube.
Hey,
that's the voice of Dr. Raquel Martin. She's here with us in studio. And if you're listening to this on Urban View, you will hear her in our conversation in just a bit. But I had some things I wanted to say, and I gave her a little bit of a warning. I was like, I don't know if you should be affiliated with what I'm going to say. She's like, have you seen my Instagram page?
Yeah, I'm good.
She's like, I'm good. I got this.
I'm here for it. I'm glad I get to see it live.
Yes. All right. So yesterday we talked about the fragile whites, which is a creature that was being studied by Miss Millie Cruella de Ville, who was a host on a show called Discovering Truth. And her counterpart, Mr. Colin Iser, was out in the field reporting back on his findings and observations of the fragile whites. We are not picking up Fragile White Landia today. However, we do have a FAFO edition because, Lord have mercy, the WEIs are bad at governing. Can we just acknowledge this? Can we accept it? Can we just say it? And I know it's true, but for a lot of us, we don't necessarily get it as much as we could. But the WEIs are really bad at just basic governing functions. Now, as a reminder, I coined the term WEI because, quite frankly, y'all was using diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, erroneously. And y'all was saying all sorts of things like DEI means didn't earn it. We know that's not true, because if you are a DEI hire, that means you had to be twice as good just to go half as far. So, honey, by the time you got to wherever far was leading you to, you 4 times better than the competition. Those aren't the rules. It's just how we do diversity math in a white supremacist reality. But we created the term, I coined that term WEI, because what I realized was happening was that we didn't have a phrase or a language to talk about white people who are unqualified as they sit in seats of power. And that the only reason they sit in that seat of power is because they are white and entitled, which means they are usually incompetent. Now, does this mean all white people? Of course it doesn't mean all white people. It just means the WEIs. There are plenty of white people out there who do hard work, who intend to be excellent and strive for excellence. But unfortunately, many of them aren't getting in positions of leadership and power in this administration. And so the WEIs are in power. And here's just a few examples as to how unlearned, uneducated, uncouth these people are. On Monday, Donald Trump is wandering around Kennedy Center. And I didn't put this part together. I realized this after I saw a clip from Rachel Maddow last night. And she was like, did this just come up to him? This idea that I'm about to share with y'all. Did the idea to do this thing that he did it just come up to him because he was just ambling about the Kennedy Center, just a mumbling and a bumbling and a fumbling with himself? I don't know. But on Monday, Donald Trump is at the Kennedy Center. And he blurts out, we're going to release the Kennedy files. We're going to release them tomorrow, unredacted, tomorrow. And again, as Rachel Maddow said, it does feel to me like this idea just occurred to him because he's got an addled brain. And he was like, I'm in the Kennedy Center. What can I do to get more good attention? Kennedy files. So I'm in agreement with Rachel Maddow when she supposes that perhaps that's where the idea came from, because he is not wholly clothed within his right mind, as the saints say. And so at the Kennedy Center, he's like, I'm going to release the JFK files tomorrow. All of them. Unredacted. Now, and this was not necessarily a part of a very well thought out, intelligent plan. No, it was not. Because WEIs, the white entitled incompetents, are not known, frankly, for being intelligent. They're not known for making decisions that serve the best interests of community. And so, again, Monday, he gets this bright idea. Tuesday, they do it. Like they just did it. No controls, no procedures, no protocols. And this was a big freaking MAGA deal. This was a big MAGA deal. You may have seen, especially during the first Trump administration, certainly after January 6th, the whole rise of the QAnon people. Where are the QAnon people? I don't feel like I've seen them in the news lately. Oh, that's probably because they're in government. The QAnon people, the MAGA people, they would have these clips that say, John F. Kennedy isn't really dead. He's been kept away from leadership. Not acknowledging the fact that if he weren't dead, he's like Jimmy the Crips, because he is old AF if he were not really dead. But they really do believe that JFK is not actually dead. And so the releasing of the JFK files is something that a lot of them have been clamoring for, yada, 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 blah, 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 because they believe there's a secret cabal of the government agents who are really keeping the JFK truth from us. And we're JFK truthers. Yeah, MAGA. And like, that's how they roll. So Tuesday, the dumbass WEIs who are running the country did it. They released the JFK files. 70,000 files, unredacted. And I know that in some QAnon brain, some MAGA mentality, they decided that this was it. And so they're combing through the files, trying to find out what's the secret of JFK. Where's he actually living right now? Can I go see JFK? I want to talk to JFK. He should really be the president. All this stuff about JFK. Well, child, they released it on Tuesday. People start going through it on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then what we realized is that two things we actually realized. The first was that these weren't new files. He released the same files that had been released previously. The second we realized was that he did release the files unredacted, but in the unredacted section where people are like, ooh, where's all the information about JFK? I know it's in here somewhere. There's got to be his address. No, JFK's address wasn't in the files of unredacted released information. His address wasn't in there because he actually is dead. You know whose addresses were in there? Every single witness, committee member, or anybody who had anything to do with this investigation. Not only their address, their social security numbers, their birth dates, all the data points of personally identifying information that one would need if you were going to hack a system. But who needs to hack when the WEIs are running it all? So now, child, some of these people is still alive, which means in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, they got to get whole ass new social security numbers. Because now all they shit is all over the internet, the dark web, the light web, the rainbow, it's everywhere. It's all over the web. And so these folks who have entire financial histories that now have to be transferred over to the new social security numbers. Oh, and they're going to get credit monitoring. So in your 70s, 80s, and 90s, good luck figuring out how to transfer over all your bank accounts. And good luck if you needed Social Security, because now your Social Security office done closed. And thanks to the Republicans, you can't confirm and finalize any of your information over the phone. So you're going to have to take your older, let me not say it out so it sounds rude. I don't want my elders feeling like that they've been slighted. Your well-seasoned legs are going to have to carry you to a non-existent Social Security office so that you can try to maintain your benefits. If that's a thing for you, but even if it's not, you got to go to the bank. You got to transfer all your information. You're going to have to start any stock accounts, brokerage accounts, your mortgage, your credit, everything now got to be transferred to the new Social Security number. And the other thing is, if you are wondering how effective this is going to be, here's a story, folks. My husband and I filed our taxes last year, as we are wont to do, because we don't want to go to jail. And we filed our taxes and we paid our tax because we had to pay taxes. We have not gotten refunds in a while. It's not a flex. It's just it's the challenge of being too rich to be poor and too poor to actually have any wealth. Okay. So we had to pay and it was a pretty penny. Not happy about how much we had to pay in taxes. So we paid the taxes. The money done been gone. Money gone. Been gone. We got a letter last month that says from the IRS, it appears you filed your tax return. Bitch, what? You don't cash the check. What are you talking about? It appears we have filed our tax return, but we cannot confirm whether or not it's you. We need you to call this number. And they gave us a number. The hours of operation are from 7 a.m. to like whatever the PM is. Give us a call so we can just confirm that you are who you say you are. Child, I've been calling all day, every day. All day, every day since we got the notification. You know what I get after waiting 7 minutes for them to get to all the prompts so I can get directed to where I'm supposed to be? I am so sorry, but we do not have any representatives who are available to service you now. And then they don't put you on hold. They hang up the damn phone. So then I got to call again. Have I mentioned I got a whole ass job? And this ain't it. This is my side situation. This is my lunch break. This is what I do for my lunch break. I got a whole ass job. So me and my husband, we got to periodically just keep calling because they done said they don't know who we are, but they took our money. Do you see what I'm saying? Part of the reason that can happen is because the Doja boys and elongated muskrat and them been firing people left, right, and center. So if you have a problem with your Social Security number, either the old one, which we all now have access to, or the new one, which you're going to have to figure out how to transfer everything over, don't you worry. There is nobody at the United States government answering the call. Good luck. WEIs are not smart, and they're bad at governing. They're bad at governing. And I also am curious because didn't the Doji boys engage in one of the largest data hacks and breaches of any entity in the freaking American world by stealing access to all of our information? Because they got all our information from Social Security. They got all our information from IRS. Where's our new Social Security number? They are a whole ass private entity / agency / fiction of Donald Trump's mind. Where's our Social Security? Who gonna give us credit monitoring? Because they got our shit. They got our address, our socials, our phone numbers, who we was. Moving on. All right. I was about to get a little too Friday. It's going to be a little too much.
I saw it heading there.
You saw it going there. And then I was like, you got a whole ass husband. You got a whole ass family. You are not, this is not 3 to 6 on this show. Moving on. We also learned that 2 days ago at 11:31, Laura Myers pointed this out. At 11:31, 2 days ago, the American Federation of Teachers sued the Department of Education because they were maintaining the parts of the Department of Education that require you to pay money, but they were canceling the parts of the Department of Education that you basically would go to take advantage of the right that you have to lower student loan payments. By 5:51 that day, Donald Trump had issued his executive order canceling and ending the Department of Education, which he does not actually have the legal authority to do. But in the who gonna check me boo world, he basically can hollow the whole damn thing out. So it leaves us with 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. But I thought it was important for us to be clear about what the Department of Education does. So I took a screenshot. One of my sister friends had posted this up, and I was like, ooh, I need this too, because I've got to read it to the people. All right, here's what the Department of Education at the federal level does. It controls a budget of $268 billion. It sends roughly $33 billion to public schools for low-income students and children with disabilities. The department's Office of Civil Rights enforces laws that aim to prevent discrimination. It provides $12 million to students with grants, loans, and work-study programs, and it oversees $1.6 trillion in student loan debt. The reason we had to have a federal Department of Education was because states' rights at the state level, they didn't like giving money to the poor kids. You know how Brett Favre stole all that money from the poor in Mississippi? And he's still on Twitter acting like we don't remember. The North remembers, and so do the blacks. But you know how he was stealing the money from the poor people? That shit would happen all the time. And so the states did not want to give money to poor people. They also are not a fan of special needs children. Do you remember what used to happen before we had a Department of Education? If your child was born with special needs, they sent you away to the home where the family tried to forget that child ever existed. That's what, and Republicans liked that. They liked that part of America. That was great for them. Hopefully that works out for all of you who have children with special needs. So the elongated muskrat, the president of the United States, decides to celebrate by tweeting out a meme. And it's a meme of it's a funeral shot over a grave site. And it's got Donald Trump giving a peace sign over the grave, and it's got Department of Education on the gravesite. But this mug is so freaking stupid. He spelled this shit wrong. It don't even say Department of Education. It says Department of Education because they spelled the shit wrong. Aren't these supposed to be the smart ones? They said they're the masters of the freaking universe. Aren't they supposed to be they're supposed to be smart. They put a woman in charge of the Department of Education who don't know what the Department of Education does. And apparently neither do a whole lot of other Americans because now they're just now figuring it out. Interestingly enough, this was literally in page like 330 something of Project 2025, which was like a whole ass open book test that Americans could have passed, but did not. Do you remember how people like myself who were talking about Project 2025, how we were talked about? They said we were shills for the Democratic Party, though I ain't got neither one red, black, nor green cent from the Democrats, not here, not there, not never. And they said we were Democratic shills because we were talking about Project 2025 and Project 2025 wasn't going to happen. This is what it is. This is what they said was going to happen. So when people, Republicans particularly, I love seeing the town halls. It's great. It's beautiful. It's amazing. But when we hear people say things, this is not what I voted for. Did you read? Because I read it and they said that's what they was going to do. They said it. They said, we don't like the Department of Education. We don't like Social Security. We don't like entitlements. We don't like those things. And we want them to be privatized because we, the people who make a lot of money already, have corporations that could do this for the government. And if you give it to me, I'll just make the money. I got you. I'll redact your files just like we did for the JFK files. They said that they was going to do it. I don't know why y'all acting like it wasn't in the information. Oh, right, because you didn't read. Not this audience, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. So yeah, Americans failed an open book test, as we are seeing a comment we're seeing reflected all over the internet. Anyway, in good news for those who love to hate Tesla, I thought we could end on a high. They had to recall nearly every single one of them ugly ass trucks because apparently in Tesla, they are so smart. So smart that they use a type of glue that don't hold the shit together. Now, so not only does that fat ass, fugly ass truck fail to literally hold its own shit together, but pieces of the truck can now fly off and turn into projectile pieces of flying Tesla destruction on the damn highway. So just like elongated muskrat spaceships be blowing up in the damn sky, skeeting space parts all over the damn atmosphere, his trucks are apparently also at risk of doing something similar on the ground. Why? Because the very smart, very intelligent WEI members of the master race used the wrong glue. Glue? Sorry, Soldier Boy voice. Glue? Should I put on the glasses? Glue? Like, yeah, I don't understand. And maybe there are other car companies that also use glue to hold the metal together. As a non-car making expert, it seemed to me a little etch-a-sketch kind of like, but you know, if it's normal for car makers to use glue to hold the metal together, I just have one question. How the hell did the white supremacist geniuses at Tesla use the wrong goddamn glue? Not just on one, not two, not three, but all tens of thousands of these cyber ass, ugly ass trucks that look like something that Minecraft vomited up. I don't know. Then, in other WEI companies who are leading Americans to destruction news, you can also now use layaway to pay for your DoorDash. Yeah, yes. Klarna. See, I told you I need you to stay out of this, Dr. Martin. I don't want you in this yet. Klarna and DoorDash have teamed up. So you can literally use a layaway plan. You get a payday loan to pay for your $8 taco. In fact, Amy Nixon posted the following: only in America does someone take out a loan for a private taxi to deliver an $8 taco to your doorstep. Klarna, in a press release, said that DoorDash customers will now be able to pay in full at checkout or split payments into 4 equal interest-free installments or deferred to dates that align conveniently with payday schedules. Y'all, this is a recession indicator. It's going to end up being the housing foreclosure bubble of the modern era. And if you need a loan to pay for somebody else to cook you food and have that food delivered instead of making your own food, may I just suggest that we stick the entire American financial system in a bag of rice and pray that it gets fixed. Finally, the WEI proponents of the master race theory have done it again. And by that, I mean impressing us with their sheer levels of manipulation. Apparently, they believe there is a difference between being a settler and being an immigrant. This is a real thing. This is a real thing that really happened. And I got to explain it because I think it's kind of funny. Y'all know who Matt Walsh is? Matt Walsh, who should never be mistaken for someone who reads, knows things, or actually uses a washcloth, said that there is a difference between settlers and immigrants. And he says America is America is not a nation built by immigrants. America was, and no, he's not from the South, but this is just the voice that I use to describe white ignorance. America is not a nation built by immigrants. America was built by settlers. There's a difference. Settlers ventured out into the wilderness to build a civilization from scratch. The modern immigrant comes to a place that's already built. Settlers planted the trees. The modern immigrants come to eat the fruits. And if you cannot see the difference, I don't know how else to explain it. Again, Matt Walsh, not to be confused with someone who reads or knows things or uses a washcloth. The reality is, Matt Walsh, this presupposes that the lie that y'all tell yourself about Christopher Columbus discovering land that was fully occupied is true. The problem is that we, the non-white entitled and incompetents, have to actually deal with history as it is, not history as you WEI folks would like it to be. And what that means is we know that this land was fully occupied, not just with a couple of engines, as I'm sure you'd like to tell them, but nations of Native American people. The word Native American indicates that they were or like innate, native, indigenous to this land. That's why we use the term indigenous. You as a settler were somebody who could not make it in your own land. You didn't have what it takes. You couldn't make it financially. You couldn't read. You didn't understand you had no skills. So you abandoned where you were at or got kicked out because a lot of criminals were also put on those ships. And then you came here where you were greeted by human beings who welcomed you and provided you with food that you could not provide for yourself. Do you remember the cannibalism stories of the early pilgrims? Do you remember that? They was cannibalizing each other because y'all didn't know nothing about farming. Because again, y'all didn't come from nothing. You came from the Black Plague. You came from the Dark Ages, while Mansa Musa was destroying economies simply by being generous with the gold that he had traversing across the continent of Africa, making his way to prey. So the challenge that we have with this, we're not settlers, y'all. There's a difference between settlers and immigrants. No, Matt, you came here and there were already trees that were planted, that were native to the land, that the Native Americans understood how to harvest because they were also native to this space. This is not a time of wellness for a lot of people in this country. And unfortunately, the white entitled incompetents are running amok. And this is like the dying gasps and the screams of a community that frankly don't know how to hack it in the real world, the world that all the rest of us live in. Almost like they were a part of the fragile whites. Anyway, we got to go to commercial break. 866-801-8255. 866-801-TALK is the number. Dr. Raquel Martin is here with us. And now that I have thoroughly exhausted these points and it's safe to bring her back in, we're going to go to commercial break. I ain't risking nobody else's situation. I don't mind risking my own. I ain't putting nobody else at risk. We're going to go to commercial break and she will be joining us live here in the Urban View studio. It's not the Black Eagle's nest, but damn it, it's certainly one of the places where eggs were laid. Ooh, get it? Eggs. Oh my God, I love a good corny joke. Bye, YouTube. Urban View. We'll be right back after this.
You're on my live and they're loving it.
I'm on your live?
Yeah, you want to say hi?
Hi. Hi, everybody. I didn't want to mess up our girl. I didn't want her in this conversation. There's some things I got, and I don't never know how it's going to go, so I didn't want her in on this. Oh, sorry. Bye, YouTube. I was still live here. Oh, Lord.